Oh, we're live, right? Okay.
Anytime now. Hey,
Welcome to Negro Please. I'm your host, Dallas Scott. This is Hollywood Huff, Basic Trina, and then we have the ghost guest today.
the ghost guest.
I'm not even gonna lie, y'all. I'm still drunk.
I'm still asleep.
And so, this is gonna be an interesting show. Literally, I just got off a plane from San Diego. Where
You're drunk though?
Oh, we drank a really nice bottle of tequila that was like $500 that I've never heard of before, but it was really like the best tequila I've ever had.
You're ballin'.
Yeah, then I had to pay the bartender like $50 to let me take the bottle because the bottle is so cool. It actually has a bell on top. Like you put the top on and you hit it and it rings like a bell. It's pretty dope.
I have to touch this. I literally in my mind was like, I'm gonna smack this man for doing such dumb things. Nobody needs this bottle. I'm open. And then
the bottle is like it's ceramic. It's legit bottle. Like it was like, wow, this is pretty dope. We got a lot of Kobe stuff to talk about. No, you're supposed to say Kobe when you do that.
I know, but you had already said his name, so I just went.
You can say Kobe after.
No.
That's what I'm gonna do. Next time I throw something in the trash, I'm gonna just go boop.
Pass.
I'm open, guys.
Nope.
So much has gone on this week with this Kobe stuff. Like, I'm really sick of discussing this with people. Like, I'm so over social media already this week because I just feel like 9 people died here, and we got to make some negative things come out of this, right? 9 people lost their lives. Even this morning, I was reading that people are going in on a helicopter pilot who, we don't even know that it's pilot error yet. We don't
Right.
NTSB isn't coming out with the preliminary report for 10 days. But by all accounts, this guy's got the cleanest record of all helicopter pilots in the world. He's never had he's a tremendous pilot. And all of a sudden, people want to go in on him because people we don't even know what the circumstances were yet. This guy apparently is very accredited, has all the ratings and stuff. For people who don't know, flying a helicopter is much harder than flying an airplane.
Yeah.
People think it's a helicopter. Making a helicopter hover without crashing is incredibly difficult. I flew small planes when I was younger. I could never fly a helicopter. There's no wiggle room on that throttle on a helicopter.
I got in a helicopter, and it was obviously I was not flying it. I just got to sit in the pilot seat, right? And this was an older helicopter too, and I was a lot younger. I was probably a teenager. And you have to use both feet and both hands to fly a helicopter, and there's 10,000 gadgets in front of you. Yeah. So I never knew or understood or even went to learn what all those things meant. But you're not driving a Charger that flies. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you could just have one foot on the pedal, one foot on the wheel, and then just keep your eye on the speedometer. That's not how flying a helicopter works. So doing it anyway it's not something that just anybody can do. I mean, you definitely need thousands of hours of training to do this right and to be good at it. And up to this point, this guy had a clean record.
We're going to cuss Carrie out. She already commented on the fact that we're going to talk about Kobe. I'm going to cuss you out in a minute because that's just ignorant. First, let's just start with
throwing around words.
Let's start with Allison Morrison. For those of you who have been asleep since this happened, Allison Morrison is the MSNBC reporter that either did or did not say the N-word.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I've seen this video. I don't know how many times.
How did you not show me this video before?
How did you miss it?
How did you not see it?
Basic Trina at it again.
Do you not have the Facebook?
So
it's the book of faces.
So I was on the radio for 27 years. And in that 27 years, I was on during 9/11. I was on the radio when Tupac died. I was on the radio when Biggie died. In fact, my boss called me and cussed me out for announcing that Biggie died because he thought I was just making stuff up. I was like, no, it came across the AP wire. And for those of you guys who don't know what an AP wire is, before the internet was actually a thing, we had a typewriter literally plugged into a phone or the internet. And then whenever stuff would hit the Associated Press, it would just type across and you'd go and pull the paper and then run and read what it was. And Biggie died.
Huh? What time was it?
You were alive during this time.
96?
Yes, but they were around until about 2002, 2003. Then the internet completely took over.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because I was also on the air when Herb Brooks, who, for those of you guys who don't know, he was the coach of the Miracle on Ice team.
Okay.
But he's also coach of the University of Minnesota. Like in Minnesota, he's Kobe Bryant. Like,
Right.
It's him, Bud Grant, Kirby Puckett, Randy Moss, Kevin Garnett. Like, he is like, if you say hockey in Minnesota, people say Herb Brooks.
Right.
And he died in a car accident one day. And I was on the air, and I had to make this announcement that afternoon. It was in the middle of rush hour, and it's crazy because how do you tell people that, like, the person they've grown up admiring, and this guy, for all accounts, was a saint. He did so much charitable work after he retired from hockey. He brought so much money into the university. He did a lot for youth hockey and a lot for a lot of youth organizations, and he dies in a car accident. How do you tell people that the person they've grown up watching, listening to, taking advice from, they admire, just died?
Wasn't that kind of what happened with Kobe?
It's exactly what happened with Kobe. That's my point. Like, I have to get on the air and tell people of Minnesota that their Kobe Bryant just died.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say other than Channel 4 News, WCCO, is reporting that Herb Brooks did. Like, I don't have, like, it's hard to get those words out as I'm saying that because you're telling everybody that their idol just died.
Right.
Allison Morris is on TV. This is a very tragic accident.
Right.
First of all, this was the worst media coverage of any event I've ever seen. Starting with TMZ announcing it before the families were notified.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were texting back and forth, and you were like, "Oh, I hope his daughters weren't on the plane." I was like, "No, ABC just announced that all 4 of his daughters were on the plane."
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes later, it was like, "No, only Gianna was on the plane." Like, It was the worst. Everybody wants to be so fast to be the first person to say something.
Doesn't matter if they're accurate.
Nobody wanted to be accurate. Like,
yeah.
And then, like,
we not a symbol of America.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is just speed read. Let's be first. Let's go. We got to do this now. We got to drop it to the point that, and we talked about this on even a sports show earlier this week. Like ESPN and I believe it was ABC. They kind of came with coverage late. Right. But on one hand, you think like, and by today's standards, they were super late. Like they were like 2-3 hours behind everybody.
But ESPN was correct.
But that's exactly. That's the thing is like they were late, but at least the information they had was a little more accurate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And maybe at that point we had already gotten as much accurate news as we could get. But at the same time, it was one of those things where why is there such a need to know everything right now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like would this really have changed our lives if we had waited 2 hours?
No.
You know what I mean? I got this probably about 11 o'clock, 11:30.
Yeah.
Would my life have been so different if I didn't get it till 1?
I have to say it was.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Like me not being in sports and any of that kind of nonsense. Like I didn't understand what was happening when the entire poker room was abrupting that Kobe had died, and I got to watch the telephone effect of what you guys are talking about on the radios, where it was 1 person, 4 people, 9 people, kids, not kids, coaches, and nobody knew what's going on. And I get to watch the whole room's emotions go crazy because nobody knew what was actually happening.
It's crazy because, and I've been burnt like by TMZ stories before where like I've seen stories on TMZ, then I've reported them on the radio and posted them all across the radio station's websites and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And then I have to go and reprint retractions because TMZ is wrong.
Right. Like they had a history, TMZ, for a while of just being like completely inaccurate. They were almost kind of starting to be written off as like this tabloid,
right? Who
just kind of reported shock stories, and half of them probably weren't true. And then I think they gained a little credibility by posting a few better stories. Like they have some better marketing now, and for the most part, they are accurate now when they post something. But even when this came up, TMZ was the first to report it, and my first thought is, here they go. Back to their old tricks. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was nowhere else and I didn't believe it.
We were going back and forth, like, and I'm like, no, it's just TMZ. Wait, then like, it took like a good another 10 minutes. We're like, okay, now other people are starting to report it.
Right.
And then all the crazy reports. Rick Fox, like, they tell his family thinks he's dead because they're announcing that he's dead.
Right.
And his daughter's like, whoa,
snap.
wait a minute. Like,
Yeah.
One of the ESPN guys is like, no, I'm actually texting Rick Fox now. He's alive and well.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
damn.
How does that?
That's intense.
Can you imagine that? Like being at home and you're watching the news and like your spouse is out doing something and on the news they're like, yeah, your husband's dead. Like, can you imagine that?
Done.
Like how that just
I'm
what
done.
goes
Or
through your
people start
mind, you know?
calling
Right.
you, right? Like,
Yeah,
are you okay?
yeah.
Are you okay? Are you
Yeah.
okay? Like, what? Why? Yeah, why wouldn't I be? Oh, because Rick
Is there a
died in a
plane
helicopter.
coming?
Right.
Somebody tell me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No.
Nuts.
And we say all this because Allison Morris is accused of saying the N-word, right? So we already know there's so much misinformation out there, right? And news people, for those of you guys who don't know, they wrote teleprompters.
Right.
Like radio people ad-lib, TV people read teleprompters.
Right.
And those teleprompters scroll, right?
Right.
And the problem with this is that somebody on the other end is typing, ask Steve Harvey about this.
Right. Yeah.
Ask Steve Harvey how you announced the wrong winner
Yeah.
of the was it Miss Universe or Miss America?
Yeah,
Whichever
yeah,
one
yeah.
it was.
It was a
yeah.
pageant. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Because
Right.
it was wrong on the prompter.
Right.
They mistyped it on the prompter. So he reads what's on the prompter. Like,
Right.
so I don't know what's on her prompter, but I do know that when you're trying to tell people this stuff, we flub over our words on this show a lot.
All the time.
And
Speak
when there's
for yourself.
emotion involved things, you tend to flub a little bit more. But that's what makes TV people, news people, the way they are, because they're supposed to have a little more composure.
Right.
My other thought is that like there is so much misinformation going on at this time.
Yeah.
And the other thing there's always somebody in the television person's ear.
Right.
They have a producer in their ear that's telling them, we're going to go to the director saying, we're going to go to this camera. The producer's like, whoa, don't report that yet. Like, so
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what she was reading. I don't know what was going on in her ear.
Right.
To think that like she fumbled and the only word she could find was the N-word. Come on, people. Like, we got more things
Yeah.
than us to do.
I mean, there are there are bigger fish to fry. And I feel like with this whole thing, because everybody's heard it now, everybody's seen it. And the first thing I thought is, first of all, most of the people who are hearing this story, they're looking at something on Facebook. The Facebook video is a phone recording of something that's on TV. So you're not going to get the highest audio quality,
Right.
first of all. And then half the people are seeing this after it's been shared 15,000 times. And again, it's going to have less and less audio quality. And I've seen 3 or 4 videos of the same thing, somebody recording what's on TV with their cell phone.
Right.
So most people didn't even get to see the actual media, the news thing on their TV
Right.
and hear this, right? So when you hear it, the audio quality isn't what it's supposed to be. And I'm not making an excuse for this woman. She obviously fumbled her words. And she said something that kind of sounds like the N-word, right? My thing is, why are we making such a big deal over somebody who kind of might have said something?
And
Right?
clearly the
You know-
intention is not there. Like
And
the context.
and see, that's
is
the biggest
clear.
thing. And this is something that we need to do just as humans in general. We got to find better fights to fight,
Yes.
especially
Yes.
in times like this when there's something going on. It was one person who originally saw this and goes, "Wait a minute, did she just say nigger?"
Yep.
And then he posted on Facebook, and now it's viral because he's told you that this woman said nigger. So you hear it and you think, you don't even really listen to what she said.
You
You just
don't,
hear a
right,
word
right,
that starts with N and you go, oh yeah, she said nigger. And I'm sharing this and I'm typing out my hate speech because this woman needs to be fired. And then you start reading reports that says MSNBC, reporter calls Kobe a nigger. And it's like, wait, that's not even close
This
to
is a
what actually
terrible game
happened.
of
Like,
telephone.
it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse every time. It's like the story starts off with, I gave Dallas $10. And then after 25 people tell the story, it's like Dallas owes Steve $7,000 and he gonna kill him at midnight. Like it's
Yes.
we get this all the time. And it's like, well, y'all just stop and chill out. Like,
Funny
you know what I'm saying?
Like back in 2010, I had this like great run in poker, and there's this story about one night. It's partially true, but the story's gotten so big that I just nod my head and shake and laugh now because like I sat down in the game and they were playing hand. We're playing poker in the dark. You don't look in your car at your hand. It's $1,000 a hand. You don't look, and whoever wins wins the pot. So like I have $2,000 on me. I lose the first hand. And I win the second one, but then I don't lose like a hand for a very long time. But the story goes now, that I won like $85,000 in this like 2-hour span. In reality,
Right.
I won like $10,000 in a 30-minute span. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
Right? But like people keep telling the story and they keep bringing it up from like 10 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I just nod and agree with them now, right? Like,
Right.
I don't even know how much.
To the telephone.
Right, like
Right.
I don't even know what I've won and so forth. So Carrie, she's on this link, and like
Carrie, who? What?
she's a Facebook friend, and she's watching our feed, and like this has just been bugging me all week. People don't know the difference between editorials and actual news articles.
Educate me.
Yeah.
A news article is fact without the writer's opinion.
Okay.
An editorial
Mm-hmm.
is the writer's opinion with or without fact.
Oh.
Right.
Interesting.
And more,
Where do you find which one is which?
Well, see, that's the problem, right? Is that people in the old days when we had newspaper, everything was news except for the editorial column. And
Right.
the editorial column might be something written by the editor. It might be a letter written into the newspaper.
Right.
It could be, whatever the sports editor thought was going to happen in the Super Bowl. But it was very clearly defined that this is editorial
Right.
and this is news.
Right.
Mhm.
Nowadays, there's no definition of that, right?
Right.
Like, because people just assume because what somebody's giving all they got to do is say one fact, and everything else they say in the article is true, right?
Right.
I mean, that's just the internet.
To this day, Quan, I know you are a big Lakers fan and a big Kobe fan.
I see it all behind him. Lakers.
I have yet to find a rape conviction from Kobe Bryant.
It's
Is this the avenue we're taking right now?
It's because there isn't one. Well, you have all these people who want to talk about that now.
Right.
Like it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, why are we mourning this guy's death? He's a rapist. Like,
Why are we not mourning the death of everybody else in the helicopter?
Well, that's a good point, though, because like I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, right? We are mourning their deaths right now, and we're mourning their deaths because Kobe was there, so we know who they were.
right?
So we have a face to them to mourn. If Kobe wasn't on this plane,
we wouldn't know.
9 people just would have died, and we wouldn't know who they were.
All we would know
and we
is
wouldn't
like,
be mourning
oh.
with their families. The coaches, what the lady coach, what her husband said, the Mauser lady's husband, about being scared, about raising 3 kids in the world without it. Like, I have kids, and I can't even imagine what it would have been like raising my kids without their mother.
I mean, think about that powerful statement to come out in front of everyone and make that statement. And like a lot of people would expect you to be like, I'm gonna make it through. And he's like, I'm scared out of my mind.
Like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just real talk, real truth.
And if it wasn't for Kobe, we wouldn't have heard that. So
That's
as
true.
much as Kobe and Gianna are at the forefront, it did give a voice to them that we wouldn't have heard
Yeah.
before.
Because without a famous person, whether it be Kobe or any other celebrity on that helicopter, all we would know is the helicopter crashed and there was 9 people on it, and most of us would have never heard about it because 2 helicopters crashed in the last month in this area,
Right.
and nobody knows who was on it, who, what, when, where, why.
And that's what frustrates me is like, I understand Kobe. So actually, as somebody who's not in sports, I didn't understand that Kobe was like an idol and a legend and not just like, swoop.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have, through all of this happening, I've watched and heard testimonies from people on poker tables who are like, oh, I watched Kobe since I was blah, blah. He's so great. He inspired me to do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, wow, this person is more than just a basketball player that
Kobe,
living basically under my rock, had no idea about. So I feel a little bit better knowing that he really made an impact and was more than just a swoop. But I also find myself thoroughly frustrated that, like you said, people die all day, every day. And why is this one so important?
Well, because we have a connection
Because it
to this
takes millions
person.
of lives as opposed to.
So you look at, when you look at, let's just say, any random person, John Doe, he dies in a car accident. His family, that person was huge, right? He was the breadwinner. He impacted their lives.
He touched 20.
Yeah, unimaginably, right?
Right.
There's 20 to 50 people at his funeral. Those people meant the world to him, and a handful of coworkers, they'll miss him, and so on and
Their
so
world
forth,
is
right?
breaking at that point.
Right. When you talk about somebody like a Kobe Bryant, here's the difference in not just even Kobe Bryant to a regular person, but Kobe Bryant to another celebrity. We got to see Kobe Bryant for 20 years be in our face, love it or hate it, doing what he does best on the court and off the court. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many stories, especially coming out now, about how he was just a beast in the locker room, outside the locker room. There was a story where, two other players were like, they got blown out in the game and he took their shoes away because he said, y'all are just soft. You know what I mean? I mean, it's stuff like that that's just like, man, this dude was just vicious.
One of my favorite Kobe stories was actually told a couple years ago. Chris Paul tells a story when he was playing with the Clippers, and they're going to play that night at the Staples Center, and he goes out to do the pregame warm-ups because he thinks he's going out there before anybody else is going out there. He says he comes out and Kobe's shooting, but Kobe's already sweating, right?
Yeah.
So Chris starts shooting, and he's out there for like 10, 20 minutes, and Kobe's still there. And, normally Chris is only out there for like 20 minutes or so, but now, like, Kobe's still there, so he's got to stay there. But he's like, when is Kobe going to go in the locker room? Because Kobe's been here longer than I have. And he said it was like afterwards, like, he was like, fine, all right, it's been like 30 minutes. I'm going to go to the locker room now. He said afterwards, he asked Kobe about it, and Kobe was like, I just need you to know that I'm going to work harder than you are tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the mindset he had, and that's the mindset he put into against other players.
And it's so much more, too, when you look at just how many people watch that, how many Laker fans and just basketball fans in general who have sports is so big to people. You know what I mean? Like, that's all some people have is rooting for their team. Like, sports is big when they're diehard Cleveland Browns fans. You understand? Like, they can't win to save their lives, So sports is this huge thing, right? And for some people, Kobe has either took them over the top with winning or crushed their biggest dreams by beating their team. Right? And so you have this connection to this player, this person. And then you see he has a family. He has a handful of personal issues. He has X, Y, and Z happen and go on in his life. And we watched this guy from the time he was 17 through his entire 20-year career, the same team. Then he retired. And we're kind of watching him like the dude won an Oscar. You know what I mean? For a cartoon. I mean, we're still watching him even after basketball do great things in his personal life.
His detail segment on ESPN was phenomenal.
Right.
Where he would break down other players and their weaknesses and their strengths. Like, it was.
So you have all of these memories and all these things you look forward to seeing this person. Right. You just kind of, it's like your favorite actor or your favorite artist. You just look forward to them putting out another album. You enjoy the things they did and you look forward to them doing something else. And you have all these memories attached to that person. And then they die. Unexpectedly. He didn't, it's different if he was 85 and we kind of knew it was coming and he lived a full life, but he was 41.
Right.
Like, I'm 40. I mean, it's a tragedy no matter what, just to see another human go. But this human, I've never met in person, and yet I have all these feelings about. I didn't think I cared about Kobe as much as I do until I was reading the news and just refused to accept it. You know what I mean? So it's tough to get people to understand that who had no emotional tie to Kobe. You see what I'm saying? Like who weren't into basketball. Yeah. They never did anything in their life because they saw Kobe do it.
I want to know why, though, when people die, we always have to go to something negative, right? Quan posted this cute little meme about Kobe the other day in heaven shooting basketball. I thought it was like I don't know how anybody could have thought anything negative about this thing. And somebody posted in the comments, but this is so disrespectful. It's too soon.
Welcome to the internet.
Yeah,
I was like he's straight. Like it was a tribute to Kobe. Like anybody who knows, it was essentially a cartoon of like Kobe shooting hoops through people's halos.
Right. Yeah.
That's great.
And people like angels and heaven go like, this guy's really annoying. Like, but like anybody who ever knew anything about Kobe knew that like if there was a ball in a hoop, that's what he was gonna do, right? So like, how is this disrespectful to his family? But like, it became this long thread, and I'm like, this guy's like, I don't even understand where he's coming from this. Which brings me back to bringing up rape allegations. There's never a rape conviction,
right?
And people. This is just frustrating.
Are you going to talk about my friend? Because my friend texted me about your conversation.
Yeah, because your friend's an idiot. Again, doesn't know the difference between an editorial and facts. So, Kobe was. There's so much to this story that people like. They pick and choose what they want to see, right?
Welcome
they
to
say,
the media.
They say that, oh, he raped this girl. What they say is that, A, there was never a conviction that he raped this girl, right? She chose not to go to court, right? She's the one that was, I'm using air quotes here, raped, and then went and had sex with somebody else. So when they took a DNA test, there was somebody else's DNA in her and somebody else's pubic hairs on her. She did that, right? Yes, Kobe settled out of court for $2.5 million a couple years later. And I'm going to tell you why. Because rich people do this stuff all the time. That's why they're targets. Yes.
Settle out of court all the time.
If he had settled in court, as in, like, took a plea, would you, for, let's say, a fine and some time, you would think that that would be an equal.
I'm gonna answer your question in a minute. Because I'm gonna answer your question in a minute. Because so rich people buy things to save them time and money all the time. Right. If for Kobe, is it easier to give this woman $2.5 million or to let this drag out in court with his wife, his kids, maybe his sponsors? Maybe he loses a $25 million sponsorship deal or a $50 million sponsorship deal because this is dragging out in court.
He lost a lot even with settling.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So do you just pay the $2.5 million and recoup your losses so you're not losing the rest of your stuff? Rich people, that's, as you said earlier, Ghost, this is why rich people are targets, because they understand risk reward, right? What is the risk of this and what's the reward from it? Is this going to cost me more now than it is in the future? How do I make this go away? It happens all the time. Saying that somebody raped somebody when they weren't convicted of rape. Yes, she said they had sex. He said they had sex, right? There's no, whether or not it was rape, she changed her story later on. And people like aren't adding those facts to the story. They're only going back and looking at the other facts of the story. And to answer your question is, maybe. My question is, at what point are we allowed to be redeemed? If Michael Vick.
Oh, I love this one.
If Michael Vick
let me at him.
Sees a bus on fire with 300 kids on the bus and goes and saves every one of those kids off the bus, he's still a dog murderer.
Which he really isn't, because he didn't have anything to do with it.
But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's a whole nother argument. Yeah. But here's the thing: is
I'm just glad she finally talked.
We tend to bring up people's worst moments.
Yes,
and no matter how much good they do, we tend to bring up, you know what? This is the day they failed as a human.
Right.
Let's talk about that. And
it's one thing if from that point on he continues to do a bunch of crappy stuff. Right. Like,
I think killing dogs and rape are very different. I would just like to say, you can, I mean, this might be my own moral compass, but and my love for dogs is real, but I feel like, okay, kills lots of dogs, redeems himself through saving 300 children. Okay. Rape is very different.
100%.
Well,
I agree.
On the topic of rape then, how about a 17-year-old or 18-year-old who's dating a 16-year-old? He's convicted now of statutory rape. But he's really not, because it was consensual. So when he gets older, that's on his record. But he's still, you know what I mean, convicted, I guess, felon at that point. But when he gets older, he's into, you know, giving back to the community, doing all of this stuff or whatever. I'm sure when he passes away, that's going to come up. But
I would agree.
What balances that out? What's to show that he's not a bad person?
I mean, using just that label of rape, you're going to have a lot of things that fall underneath it, but that's also going to come out. That it was like an age difference between 16 and 18 will also be revealed.
But what if he was 50 and raped a 20-year-old? Is there no redemption because he's a rapist? But anything we do bad, we're able to be forgiven, and we can forget those mistakes, because a mess up is a mess up, right? Not saying that it wasn't even intentional. We've done things intentionally that are wrong to people all the time. So where, like he was saying, where's the redemption? Like, anybody could be
rape redeemable.
Yeah,
I think
any mistake is.
I think it's like this. It's
rape is not a mistake; it is an intention.
Right.
No.
But it was a mistake
but here's the thing
you made in that time.
It's
of your life.
where do you go forward? Because rape and this, like you said, it is intentional. It's a bad decision, and we've all made bad decisions. Now, it's not even an argument. Some bad decisions have a higher degree of being bad than others. Stealing a pack of gum from the store is a bad decision, right? Murdering someone is also a bad decision, right?
Right.
But it's a case-by-case thing. where was this person at? What did they do after? How did they try to make up for the mistake that they made? How did they try to redeem themselves, right? So if I'm 20 years old and I rape someone, regardless of their age, regardless of how heinous, how bad it is, let's say I do 5 years in jail and then I'm out. What do I do with my life from that day forward? Do I try to make amends with the person I raped? Do I go and try to get forgiveness with them? Do I reach out to the community? Do I just disappear and go off and no one ever really knows where I'm at because I work in the back of a factory for the next 40 years? At what point does this one thing that I did wrong in my life no longer become relevant? You understand? And so,
when does it not
and I think it's a case by case. Right. I think it's a case by case thing.
It is.
And being talking about Kobe, what happened, they will only know how aggressive or how bad this consensual sex or date rape or whatever it could have possibly been. Those are the only two people who will know about that.
Right.
We do know they settled out of court. They both moved on. And from that day forward, we haven't heard a negative thing about Kobe
right
in the public. You know what I mean?
And
since
for
that
record,
day.
I'm not taking a side.
No. It's a
I
good
haven't done
question.
enough
And it's something that people need to understand and talk about, because at the time he was married and he admitted, yes, he cheated on his wife. You know what I mean?
That's the other thing.
And
like,
so
that's one of the things Carrie's bringing up is like, oh, well, he was an adulterer. He had an affair on his wife. That's none of your damn business.
But that's his wife's choice.
Yes.
Right.
If
That was
Vanessa's
his-
okay
that was
with
his
it
wife's
and
choice.
Right.
Vanessa can go back and deal with Kobe, that's Vanessa's
That's
business.
up to her.
That's not your business. That's not for you
That's
to
a
judge.
redeemable mistake between themselves.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
And
that's
so-
the thing, is it goes back to this. Some people can get forgiven for it,
Right.
and then
And there are
sometimes
people who
it
do-
destroys the marriage.
Right. And there are people who rape or don't rape, or like, because we don't know. The answer is we don't know that there was
Nobody
a rape
knows.
here. So you're
Right.
convicting this man in the court of public opinion because these editorials of rape, when we don't know that there was a rape here.
And it is
people are like,
completely unfair to do it when he's not
Dead.
here to defend himself.
Exactly.
There's no
So-
question there. In
And
my mind.
that's the thing, is like, we forgot about it for 15, 17 years, however long it's been. And now we want to talk
Right.
about it.
Right.
This is the thing where, as humans, it's like, look, man, come on. You know, this person passed away. And when I die, hopefully there's something to celebrate.
Right.
And that's what I want y'all to celebrate. If it was
There will
one
be.
thing, you know what I mean? If there's one thing I did right, just talk about that for an hour,
Yeah.
put me in the dirt and go eat.
Right.
Like, that's seriously,
Right.
like, that's what I want at my funeral. Like, let this be my will and testament right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're recording this.
It's in the record.
I mean, and that's what it should be. If people don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
Right.
Like, that's the thing about death. Like,
because you think you're doing respectful thing here by his wife and family by bringing this up.
or
Right.
to the victim.
Like, everybody in the world is aware of this, right?
Right.
Does the victim want to even go through this again, right?
and a lot of people, they want moments like this. Is like, why are you talking about them? Pay attention to me. Here.
Right.
And there's a handful of comedians who've made like death jokes and other things about this man's passing. It's like, come on, man. Like, this is a real
Give it a
life
hot
human.
second.
Right.
He's got a
With a
wife.
family.
There's other
Yeah.
kids.
Little
He's got
children,
family.
like-
He's got
Little
parents. He's
Yeah.
got. Come on, man. Like,
And I also think, like, so I'm kind of playing the devil's advocate on this side if we can't figure that out. But as much as I believe that maybe there is a conversation on guilt, not guilt, sexual assault, not sexual assault, I 100% believe that time has passed. When he passed,
Right,
you've had
right.
12, 15 years. I'm sorry, correct me.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah,
it
15
was.
years, yeah.
You've had that amount of time while he was alive to say, hey, man, I don't think you did the right thing here. Something fishy's going on.
When he
Right.
scored,
But
They
he's
did
here to
bring it
defend
up.
himself.
They've brought it up a lot. A lot of people have, because people like bringing up people's dirt, like they
Right.
don't have any dirt of their
their
own.
own.
yeah.
When he won the Academy Award, they were bringing it up.
That's what I was gonna
Okay.
say. But they
Oh,
only bring
okay.
it up when Kobe does something great.
Right.
Yeah.
So another good thing
Yeah.
happens. Oh, remember the rape? And it's
Right.
like, then yeah, he gets an Academy Award. Oh, remember the rape? Like, it's, come on, man. Like,
But we've all done horrible stuff
Yeah.
in our lives. Maybe not to that extent,
Stand-
but
right.
we've all done stuff. And who's to say who's wrong is worse
Than the others.
Than other
100%
wrong.
agree.
Right.
Right. And I think that I don't know if redemption is the right word, but there has to come a point in your life, right? Like, if you
Forgiveness is the word.
forgiveness is a great word.
yeah,
That's
If
the
you
word.
there has to come to a point in your life, right, where like you are not this person that you were anymore. I've completely found God, or I've just changed my life and I've become a better human being and given to people and tried to uplift other people. At what point do the sins are the sins not outweighed by the goodness?
yeah.
You know, and then why
Yeah.
do you always want to kick people when they are down? And the thing that really bothers me about this is It rarely happens to white people when they die. I can think of Chris Kyle, the American Sniper dude, but like the people that came out against him were the people that were like in his own unit. They were like, this dude was screwed up. Like
Don
he had
Imus just died, and people were saying
they called him a racist.
they were killing.
Yeah.
There's nobody that respected his death at all.
Yeah.
So to say it doesn't happen with white people is a lie.
I was looking
it
for
happens
something.
with celebrities all the time.
Celebrities all the time.
So, Don Imus, God,
I can tell you who it will happen with that we may not be prepared for. Bill Clinton. It will happen.
Oh.
It's happening already.
Yeah, he's not even dead. Yeah.
He ain't even dead yet.
The other person I thought of actually was Epstein, because like people like they're gonna bring up his dirt for the rest of his life. Like if you got a picture somewhere of you and Epstein together, you need to burn it now. Like don't ever let it get out, because you're whether you were or not, you're gonna be labeled for the rest of your life if you were associated with this guy.
Right.
Because he's like, for all accounts, that he was just the scum of the earth. Like,
but he's not dead, right?
No, he died. He not
suicide.
Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, who supposedly committed suicide. But it's ridiculous. And
just to settle one more thing, Dr. Umar Johnson, you're an idiot. He says the Illuminati killed Kobe. Come on, man.
I told you earlier.
I said this was, and it was
Please
funny
explain
because
the Illuminati.
because I posted this what happened.
Wait, what is it?
It was just I'll explain.
Secret society.
Yeah. So.
Oh, is this
Kobe,
the one where you level up?
No, that's Scientology.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is.
I've learned a lot this week, guys.
Yeah. So
Big thing.
Kobe dies, and obviously, like, we know this, the minute you see this ridiculous outpouring of love for Kobe, and I say ridiculous because I couldn't scroll past like 2 names on any social media and not see a Kobe tribute on Sunday or Monday, right? And I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, I posted something like, please do not start with the Illuminati, kill Kobe and all of this. Let's just, can one time... You did say that like Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I was like, can one time we just let somebody die? And they died because they died in a crash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can that just be the cause of his death and we move on? And it had to be 24 hours later. You know, people are starting to show, you know, Dr. Umar Johnson's rant about how Kobe was in this big fight with a pharmaceutical company or insurance company or something, and the Illuminati had him killed to make a display out of him, and this and that and whatever. So
wait, I'm sorry, what is the Illuminati?
So those who don't know, the Illuminati is the most secret of all secret societies that everybody knows about, except you, Trina. So
y'all induct me.
So this is the thing. Every time, and you see it with some white people, but every time a black person gets super wealthy, like Jay-Z and Beyonce, all of a sudden they're in the Illuminati, right? They're part of the Illuminati, and they don't say it because it's a secret society. Remember,
the Illuminati
the Illuminati doesn't say anything.
Just people are like, yes, people speculate they're in Illuminati. Look at this. They took a picture on this date, and Jay-Z's birthday is December 4th, and 4 + 12 is 16. And people come up with all these stupid like reasons why this successful person is in the Illuminati. Now, in the same breath, when a super wealthy or famous black person, because they even do it with some white people too, and then some like non-black or white people, just people in general, when they die, they never die just of a regular heart attack. The Illuminati had them killed. You understand?
Nipsey Hussle was killed by the Illuminati.
Yeah, Nipsey Hussle was killed by the Illuminati
because he was breaking Dr. Sebi's secrets out.
Yeah, he was sending Dr. Sebi's secrets, and he opened up a school in the projects, and he did whatever he was doing. That's why they killed him. So,
and who is this doctor who's saying that? Is this doctor saying he's in the Illuminati?
No, he's not in the Illuminati, but apparently he knows everything that's going on with the Illuminati, right? Yeah. And he knows all the Illuminati secrets.
Let him in?
They want, not only will they not let him in, but he's exposing all their secrets, and they ain't killed him yet.
Right? Okay.
So this is my thing. Like sometimes we just have to look at the source of our information. This is worse than flat Earth. Okay. Like this flat Earth is easily proven with just a picture from a satellite, which we have. You know what I mean? Like you can just prove that. But the Illuminati is like the biggest urban legend that may or may not exist.
Right. Okay. And there's a large population who believes in the
Illuminati.
There's
a lot of people. Yes, there's probably. I would guess over half the population of the world believe there's a secret society.
Wow.
Probably more than that. And you know why?
Do they control Area 51?
They control
They're different.
probably everything. They control who becomes president. They control who people think the
you know
Illuminati
who the
controls
Illuminati
everything.
is? It's Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan Chase. Like that's
Right.
Is
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Illuminati an American thing or
No,
a
But
world?
probably, man,
Probably-
it's world.
it's
I would say it's
worldwide,
world.
yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing: like most of the people who think the Illuminati are controlling everything are people who don't control anything.
Ooh, that's
So
a big
and
statement
this
right
is
there.
and this is something that I stand by and I say all the time. This is not a black thing or a white thing. This is a poor thing. Because people who don't take control of their own lives, in most cases, are poor people. And poor people always think it's somebody else's fault something happened.
Something happened to me.
So a lot of poor people will never accept the fact that they are losing because they're simply not doing what they need to do to make things happen. It's always somebody else keeping them down. Does systematic racism and systematic injustice and systematic like financial like pushing and goading, does that actually happen? Of course it does.
Absolutely.
100%. I'm not saying that certain things aren't messed up in this country, in our system, and in the way we do things. They are. However, I am saying every time that something goes wrong, it ain't always because of the Illuminati. You need to fix your credit. Like that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you need to get a second job. Maybe you need to start a business. Maybe you need to go read some books.
Right.
Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like because it can't always be the Illuminati killed somebody. And he even goes into like, oh, the propeller failed. And I've been on plenty of helicopters and the propeller failed. Like planes crash, helicopters crash.
Right.
Accidents happen. Things happen. Kobe
And
winning an insurance
and he's
case
making
ain't going to
statements
change
that
the world.
we don't even know yet, right? Like the
Right.
NTSB hasn't released a statement. All they said was that he climbed to 2,300 feet. The plane fell to, or the helicopter fell to 1,400 feet. Like it hasn't. They'll in 10 days they'll release their initial statement and then they'll have more details.
Right.
There is no black box on this thing. Real quick.
Yeah.
So like this is what frustrates me with folks, right? So Carrie's on here now. She wants to somehow bring up Bill Cosby. What are we going to say about Bill Cosby?
Yeah, we
I'm
gotta
not
bring
saying-
Carrie on the show.
I'm not going to say anything about Bill Cosby because he's in prison. What I'm going to talk about is Harvey Weinstein, right? Like he just paid off $25 million to people. But you don't want to talk about him, right? We don't want to talk about the white guy. We want to talk about the black guys that are in prison and dead, right? We can't talk about the white guy that's actually on trial right now for doing far worse, or at least as worse as Bill Cosby did, and far worse than anything
Do you think it's because he's not as popular as Bill Cosby? I know who Bill Cosby is. I don't know who this Harvey
Harvey
guy is.
Weinstein owns Hollywood.
He owns most of Hollywood. I mean, most of the movies you've seen
But I
or
get
that
what
have come out probably
like,
come
he
from.
I
owns
get
it.
what she's
He's not
saying.
the face.
He's
I
he's
saw-
not the forefront of it. So Bill Cosby.
I
you
saw
see
Bill
his
Cosby
face.
on TV. I don't know
Right.
who this Harvey
So I
guy
get what
is.
you're
He
Yeah,
makes the TV.
of course.
That's great.
You've seen him on TV and he's more popular, but who's more powerful without a doubt is Harvey
Weinstein.
Weinstein.
Oh,
Of
for
course.
sure.
Not even
but
close,
people are
you
only
know?
going to care about Bill
Who they
Cosby
see.
because they've seen him.
Yeah.
That's true. But still,
Not
like evil
necessarily
is
just
evil.
like- oh,
you know what I mean?
100%.
That's what I'm saying is there's an evil guy who's doing the exact same things. Why do we keep bringing up the 4 black people who've been charged with doing the
Who
same
actually
thing
doing
that
their
these
time
other
for what
right,
they
yeah,
did.
and,
Right.
and Bill Cosby's in jail.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So he's
Let's
doing
bring
the
up R.
time for
Kelly
his
too.
crime,
Baloney
you know?
thrown at
Let's
him.
bring up
Right.
R. Kelly
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
We're
Why
going
we
to
had it,
talk
right?
about a closed case when we could talk about a real live active
Something
case
that's happened.
right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I
yeah.
feel
I mean,
that.
in Harvey Weinstein sexually assaulted lots and lots of women,
Yeah.
like and big famous women like Ashley Judd and Annabella Sciorra. Like
Yeah.
he went after like Hollywood's elite women.
And
like
you know that's why the lady who played Wonder Woman.
Linda Carter.
No.
No, Gail.
The-
new one?
Gail,
Gal
Gadot.
Gadot.
Yeah, Gail Gadot.
Yeah, that's why she wasn't gonna do Wonder Woman 2.
Right, because
he was over it.
that, yeah.
But as soon
I
as
mean,
they
we
let
could-
him go on that, then that's when she decided
Right.
she was like, okay.
I mean, the sexual assault in women in the Hollywood industry is a conversation that we could have for the whole show
Kathy,
if we
it was
wanted
a
to get
Kathy
there.
Bates came out and like I was like, whoa, because Kathy Bates came out and was like, look, back in the day, you knew if you got invited to a hotel room, this was going to go down.
I read that.
Yeah.
I was
And that's
very impacted by that article.
She's like,
Because-
you made your choice when you went in there. Like she was like, it was like
it was no secret.
right, and it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's crazy, right? Because like it's wrong. We know that, right?
Mhm.
It's like I'm not trying to justify these men and what they did at all.
Right.
But her point was that like when you went there, you made a choice that role or that producer gig
important.
or whatever it was more important to you than what you had to do in that moment.
Right.
the problem is that situation should never occur.
A-
Which I think we
100%.
can
The
all
problem,
agree
like,
in.
so
We all
here's-
agree on
the
that.
thing is,
So here's the thing, like the problem should, It shouldn't happen. Like if people are being honest and just being professional and doing things the way they should be done, these things would never happen. It's one of those if we lived in a perfect world, but we don't, right? So here's the thing, and of course, the world doesn't have to be perfect for people to be decent.
That's what
You know
I
what
was
I mean?
gonna
I mean,
say.
no,
It has to be perfect for
I saw it in
women
your
to not
face.
have to be
Yeah,
sexualized.
But here's the thing too, like okay,
I wanna hear what you
I'm
want.
a married man, Trina.
Mhm.
Let's say me and you and Dallas go to San Diego, right? And my wife's at home with the kids.
Why are you trying to bring
Okay.
up my memories right now? Like,
No, I'm just saying. I just thought, right?
I'm gonna be the villain.
And we're staying somewhere, and I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm about to go to bed, and y'all two are down there. And then I send you a text, Trina. Hey, Trina, I'm in my room. Can you come up here for a minute?
Mhm.
It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm a married man, and you know that.
Mhm.
At that point, are you just gonna waltz on up to my room at 2:00 in the morning?
Yeah.
she's not thinking of it, but see, she doesn't think of it like that. Like she's thinking she's your friend,
Well,
and
what you need? You gotta talk about it. You fighting?
yeah. That's
got a
like I know,
shoulder?
but see, I
You
know
need
her and her
McDonald's?
mindset, right?
So
Like,
yeah, so her that's probably using
you would
Trina
have,
as a bad example.
because you'd
Any
have
other-
to
any
word
other
it like,
woman, yeah,
No,
any other
here you
woman,
go.
you'd
any
have to
other
say,
woman though.
Trina, come,
You
let's
know
get
what I mean?
naked in my room,
Here's
and
one.
then she'd be like, whoa,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Here's
So
one. Your friends invite you out.
Mhm.
Okay. You already know Vegas. You know the different places that are here in Vegas. You know the different places that like and what they stand for and what they are. So you've heard of the Green Door, right?
Mhm.
So if your friends invited you there,
Mhm.
you don't go there hoping to see a unicorn and see, to pet some rabbits.
Mhm.
You already
Depends on
know.
what you're trying to do with that unicorn.
But you go there
I mean, there might really
with
be.
already a mindset of knowing exactly what may happen.
and the green, for those who don't know, the Green Door is like a swingers club.
Swingers
It
club,
is
yeah,
a
right.
swingers
So-
club.
Yeah, not like it.
It's
It
not
is
like
a-
it is. Yeah,
You're
Greendoor.com.
not going there to go, get some drinks and pet a rabbit.
yeah.
You're going there.
So here's
You-
the thing.
you know what I'm saying?
I've been to the Green Door.
No.
Uh,
You say you have?
I have.
Mhm.
However, I went there knowing what I would see. I
Mhm.
did not go there knowing what I would do. Which
Right,
I
but
feel
you
right.
went
But
there
you know what
knowing
goes
could have-
down
right,
in the Green
exactly,
Door,
Exactly.
right?
So when these
So-
producers say, "Hey, having this party, I think you'll be great for this part. Come see me at this party."
right.
You already know. It's not during the daytime or whatever. You already have in this mind like, "Crap, I hope it don't go there."
Right.
But there it might.
And
be a
now,
chance.
and then when you're at the party, he's like, "Look, I'm staying at the Marriott. Why don't you come back to my room with me?"
or I'm staying right down
At
the
that
hall.
point, Trina, if you don't know what's going on,
you
I
shouldn't
mean,
be in
you
Hollywood.
gonna get what you got coming.
I feel I
You
get
see?
that. I
I'm not trying to
And
gloss
I think,
it
and
over
the
at
point
all.
that we're making is, of course, like some of these men, they're hoarding their power over
Mhm.
They're
other
horrible
people,
people.
which is
No, we don't
terrible,
disagree
right?
with that, right?
right.
But at the same time, there
You
is
have
a
to be strong.
decision that you, as a human being, have to make to protect yourself.
There's this movie called Crossroads with Ralph Macchio in it. I love this movie, because it's him, right? Because he goes to the crossroads to meet the devil to make a deal, right? Like he's willing to sell his soul to be this world phenomenal guitar player, to be this great blues legend, right? And that's what that situation is, right?
Right.
You're going to meet the devil. Are you willing to sell your soul to do what you want to do?
Right.
And we all agree that these men are horrible people. Nobody's
Mhm.
like making excuses for them, right?
Right.
But Kathy Bates' point was, you made a choice also,
Right.
right?
Right.
You know, like Ashley
here-
Judd didn't make the choice. She made a choice. She said no, and because she made that choice, it killed her movie career.
Right.
There's a bigger podium to stand on when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you remember the conversation we had with Kamari the other day,
Yes.
where I was like, "I'm not feeling what's happening here."
Yes.
I think that this scenario applies directly to that. This is a situation that should never happen. However,
Right.
put in that situation, you can make two choices. And those women did know that going into that choice. However, in that moment, knowing that I will sacrifice my career for this situation, I feel like it's a win to sacrifice yourself to get that move in that career.
And here's the
In
thing.
that
That's her
moment.
point. That
If
was
Right.
Kathy
you,
And
Bates'
and that's
point.
what you're saying.
There
if
were
you
women
agree,
who
right.
If
If you
agree
agree to that and you say, okay, this deal with the devil is worth it,
right,
and I'm going to make this deal with the devil, you're a grown woman.
It's not
You
the
can
deal
make
with
that
the
decision.
devil that's worth it, though. It's the not deal with the devil that is
That
too
sucks.
hurtful.
Right,
and that's what
right.
he
Of
was
course,
doing.
Right.
that's what sucks. But here's the thing: at that point, if he's asking and he's telling you and he's saying, "Hey, you're gonna do this for me, and I'm gonna do this for you," quid pro quo, right? And you say yes, you've made a decision. Now, if you make that decision knowing that you could have also made a decision to turn around and walk out the door, this is why people don't believe a lot of the Me Too stories, because they're saying, wait a minute, but you said yes when you could have just said no.
But there's
Right?
a difference between forcible rape where you cannot physically say no, and being put in a position where power over you is made directly clear that consequences are going to happen to you if you do not sleep
And that's
with them.
exactly what
And
Harvey
that's-
Weinstein did.
Right, and that's what
exactly-
made
that's what he
him
did.
the terrible
Well,
person.
And that's why that's why I'm still saying, like, yes, he is very evil. There's even like a recording of him talking to this woman, trying to get her to go up to his room, and she's just like, no, I can't go up there. I have to go somewhere else. I got to do, like, she made like 5 different excuses on why she couldn't go up there, and he kept on begging her to
Right.
come up to his room, right? This is like one of 50,000 whatever number of stories that we've heard about this guy.
But this happens all the time.
It
Yes.
happens all the time.
All the time.
So I don't understand how this situation keeps occurring.
Because he's powerful and he has enough
got
money to
money.
get people to shut up. Because when that woman leaves, who can she complain to? Everybody who she can complain to is under Harvey Weinstein.
It's on his
Right.
payroll.
Everybody who she complains to works for him already.
Or
Technically, no
they
crime.
want that job that she
Exactly.
just did
Exactly.
not get.
Phew, that's another side of the Me Too thing.
You
If
see?
we're gonna Me Too, we got to stand together.
But you know what?
Well-
What's so crazy though is this Me Too thing. I love, that women are coming together and standing for it and all of that or whatever. But why don't people recognize the men who have been in these same situations? Who
I
have
agree.
been in these same, they're powerful women who are in a place, and then they're like, well, you got to do this to get this position or to
Absolutely.
get this job.
There have
Like,
even been men
no-
who have done it to other men. Terry Crews talks about it a lot. Where,
Yes, he
where
does.
there were men who literally sexually assaulted him or attempted to, and there was nobody either believed him, and there was nobody that he could talk to.
Mhm.
And then, and I don't want to say it's worse as a man, but as a man, there's another element that's involved,
Absolutely.
which is
Because
once you admit
taints-
that this man did something to me,
Absolutely.
because toxic masculinity or just super masculine men
Toxic
are going to now look at
masculinity,
you
for sure.
as if, oh, now you're soft.
Right.
There's something wrong with you,
Mhm.
even in the sense that sometimes that also happens with women.
For sure.
But more people look at a woman as, okay, she's a victim of rape. And people look at a man as if,
How did
yeah,
you
you're a
let that-
victim, but you're soft. How you let this
That
happen to
happened to
you?
you
right.
let it
You know what I
happen.
mean?
Right.
Yeah. So there's, in both cases, they're terrible.
Absolutely.
And when you have one person on the top like this, why don't you want to know, like, why doesn't things happen? I mean, this guy just has so much money,
Too much.
so much
Too much
power.
power.
And
He
so
just
many connections.
and we talk. This is the Kobe thing, right? Like people write checks to make things go away.
Mhm.
right.
You know why you haven't heard from the girl? Because she signed a non-disclosure agreement and she's not allowed to say anything. Otherwise, she's got to pay that $2.5 million back.
Right.
Yep.
And she probably doesn't even have that money anymore. I hope she did something wonderful, invested, bought some houses, has some rental properties. But
Yeah.
like, if she opens her mouth, she owes $2.5 million plus probably some penalties
Back
and
to
some
his
other stuff.
estate.
And
These agreements happen with rich people all the time.
People
They
even-
happen in companies where we're going to fire you,
Yeah.
but you can't say anything about anything. You know, when you get a job in the casino, one of the first meetings you have is that you are not allowed to give information about
About
what's
what-
going on in your department in other casinos.
Yeah.
Yep.
If we're going to run a promotion, you can't say anything about it. And in fact, they won't even tell you to the last minute, so
Right.
you can't say nothing about it.
Don't get
So
that
you
email
can't
to the
run
day
from
before.
Wynn down to Bellagio and tell Bellagio what Wynn's about to do, so they can do it too. Like,
I will say, as my barely comparable experience, even though I am on the devil's advocate side of this, I got arrested for something I thought I didn't even do, and I didn't get convicted, and it shook my world. It rocked my life. Part of the reason I'm sitting here, because I was like, how can I get arrested? I didn't even do anything, and they're taking me to jail. All this stuff. So if I could have paid $3,000 to make that whole situation go away, I would have done it.
you just
And
wrote
I'm
a check.
completely,
Every-
and I am completely
Here's the thing:
Free.
everybody would.
Yeah.
Right.
Like this is
Right.
why, and I tell people this all the time, and I use Floyd Mayweather as the example, and it was when he went to jail for domestic abuse, right? And he pled guilty, and everybody's like, "Oh, he beats his wife." or he beat his girlfriend. That's why he pled guilty. You know he did it because he pled guilty. And I said, I don't know if he did it or not. It's possible, yes. I never took a side because I don't know. I wasn't there. But I said, I'm going to tell you why he pled guilty. Because if he says not guilty,
And
that
this
court
is-
trial is going to go 2-3 years long. It's going to be forever because he's got money. She's basically trying to take some of his money. So in the end, this is going to be a long trial.
And if he
he's trying to
loses,
fight
it's
people,
gonna
right?
be bad.
At his age, he's trying to fight. He can't train and fight while he's going to court. But if he pleads guilty, he gets sentenced to like 90 days in jail. He pays like a $200,000 fine or whatever it was. And then he's out and it's over with and he can go on with his life.
And for those of you who don't think that this happens on a regular basis, and it's not just with people, it's with corporations, right? That's why Monsanto is in these long-going trials over whether or not they cause cancer, right? Because they knew the information. They just didn't tell anybody because somebody up in accounting was like, well, look, we can make $14.5 billion doing this. But if we get, and we're not supposed to do it, but if we get caught, it's only going to cost us $1.2 billion. So we're $13.3 billion to the good. So we're okay with
are.
this.
Exactly.
And that's what happens. And
Right.
we see it with car recalls, right? We've seen it where car companies have known that like maybe the seatbelt was faulty. The Ford Pinto is a great example. Like that car would blow up if you could hit it anywhere near the gas tank.
Right.
But Ford knew that, right? And all they had to do was put a little padding in there, and it would have saved people's lives. But they didn't do it because some accountant was like, yeah, but only one in every 250 cars is going to blow up, and that's only going to cost us $35,000 per blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
it's worth the risk. That's the risk reward we're talking about. Rich people do the same thing with their money, right? What is this worth to me right now as opposed to long term? Oh,
Right.
2.5 million. Kobe's worth $770 million. That's unimaginable money. Like you can't even imagine what walking into a room with $770 million looks like.
Can I ask
Right.
a Trina question
Yep.
here? So why or how is there not laws that settling out of court is not allowed? Like shouldn't
Because
like-
Well, the
sometimes
law-
the victim doesn't even want
Yeah,
to
the law
go
is
through the
there
court
also to
thing.
protect you. So like he brought up Monsanto, and the first thing I always think with Monsanto is all the farmers that they basically rob of their farm. So they have these patents on seeds, right? And let's just say Monsanto goes to your farm and they find out that like you're using one of the seeds that's like 15 strands away, but still a part of some seed that they trademarked or
Knockoff.
something, right? Well, now they can sue you, okay? So now I'm big company Monsanto, you're the small farmer, right? You don't have nearly as much money as I have.
Right.
I can simply drag out a court trial using my lawyers and all my money
Which is what
To the
Monsanto's
point-
doing right now
right,
anyway.
to the point that you simply go bankrupt in the trial process, right?
And they come and swoop in your
Or we can settle out of court and make a deal. And for Monsanto, what this usually means is you just stop being a farmer and give me a part of your land or all of your land. And now these farmers are going out of business, and the land that they had, now Monsanto owns it, right? It also works in the reverse. Say you find out Monsanto stole something from you, and you say, look, I want, $10 million for what you stole from me and all this. And they just say, you know what? We don't got time to go to court. We don't feel like all of that. How about we just give you $7 million and we just part ways? And it works out for you.
Right.
So in many different cases, you can sell out of court for many different reasons. And a lot of times, like you see it with famous people because the time that these trials take
Right.
cost them,
and their time is
right?
worth a lot more.
And their
money.
time is worth a lot more than the actual money. They'd rather just give up the money because I can give you $3 million and I can go make $10 million in that time that I would have spent in
In
It's
court.
actually- like
in
my
your
mother-
personal opinion, do you believe that the ability to settle outside of court is beneficial more often than power-hungry struggles or moves being made?
That depends on the actual situation, the company, I guess the person, the stature of that
everything is
person,
case
everything.
by
It's not a
case,
black
If you
and
need
yeah.
something, and somebody to be made an example of, and you're willing to fight that fight, like with I don't know what,
You ever watch Shark
all
Tank?
types of different
Love
things.
Shark Tank.
So Shark Tank, right? You go into the Shark Tank and you're thinking, man, I want $300,000 for 10% of my company, right?
I got like 3 ideas, guys.
Okay.
Right.
But then you get on there, right? And the sharks start talking about, you know what? Your evaluation sucks.
I know.
I'll give you $150,000 for 10% of your company.
Oh my god.
And you're like,
50%
no.
decrease.
But here's the problem, right? You know you don't have the financial resources
Mhm.
or the marketing companies that these guys have,
Right.
right? So now you're at a point where you've been working your entire life and you've built this, right? And you finally got this invention, the Shark Tank, right? And you got a guy who's willing to put up some money. It's not the money you want, but it's money to make your dream go global and become this product that you envision it being. At some point, you'll see people on the show be like, it's not what I wanted, but you got a deal. And it's the same thing with these out-of-court settlements, right? Like, it's not what I want, but this $1.3 million could really get my kids through college, pay off the mortgage on the house.
Right.
I won't have to stress anymore about this.
Right. I guess for me, I think the disconnect between this whole conversation for me is that, you know, if you're fighting with the money like this, like with the farms and X, Y, and Z, it's kind of a money over money situation. When you substitute money for a possible rape is difficult in my eyes for the fact that rape can happen again. So it's like you're not,
that's
keeping
where
other people safe.
That's where you also have to look at where is your moral standing in life. I've said plenty of times, like when I believe Michael Jackson settled out of court plenty of times for this exact reason. The thing that always bothered me is on the other side of it, if I'm a parent and I really believe this person did something to my kid, we ain't selling out of court. You're going to jail.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to court.
You have to fight that
There's
fight.
no amount of money that's going to make me say, you know what? You know,
Exactly.
if you did something to me, maybe. You know what I mean? If you did something to my family, I don't think I could settle.
And that's what I
You
was
see?
saying. Like, just fighting, it depends on the fight. It depends on how important it is to you, how important it is for you to represent others that have been through what you've been through. If you're able to fight that fight and stand through it, through all the stuff that's going to come at you, because not only do they have money, but they have connections to people who have money, who have fans, not just like sports fans, but just have, you know, people who are, you know, sniffing their butt. So they just like, oh, well, you this and you that or whatever, and they will come at you. And if you have the strength and everything else to stand through that, along with the court cases and with the finances and all that stuff, then yeah, you make an example of that company or whatever, or that person who did whatever. But if you don't have that strength, you don't have the resources, you don't have that, you can take that money that was given or whatever the settlement was and try to fight it on a different level or a different, you know, avenue. Court. You know, in like a different arena is the word that I'm looking for.
That's a good one. I like it. You know,
that way,
social justice.
Now, so now, okay, I have this money. What can I use this money for? I can use it to open up a, you know, a shelter for women who have been through what I've been through, or, you know what I mean? Different things like that. So you have to, it's not just, like he said, it's not, you know, black and white. There's a lot of gray in there, and sometimes that it just, you have no access to that avenue to be able to make an example of them. So you have to do what you can for the ones that have been through it versus. We
had this conversation once when you first came to work at Bellagio, and I think it was a player like threw cards in your face or something. And I was like, you should write a report. And you're like, oh, it doesn't bother me.
Oh, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I was like.
This changed my life.
I was like, yeah, but you have to write the report for those who can't. Because there are people who, for the way they've been brought up or whatever, like, they don't know how to speak for themselves. So you have to write the report so you can speak for everybody else.
This changed the way that I let people treat me. In my actual life, this was an actually really big turning point, because he said, the way you let people treat you lets those players know how they can treat your following dealer. I am a very hard person to offend. If you want to call me sweetheart, love, tell me I'm pretty, talk about my body, whatever, do you, I'm going to take it all as a compliment. However, if another woman sits in the box and you say the words that you say to me and she is uncomfortable, I will feel absolutely terrible that I played a part in letting him speak to you that way. Or her. It could be anybody. And in that, I understand the connection that you got to put that forward front face.
Right. Because once you give that person, you're giving two voices. You're giving the person who's doing the horrible thing the voice to keep doing it if you don't say anything. And if you do say something, you take their voice away, but you give the voice to somebody that can't stand up for themselves.
Right.
Or doesn't know how to stand up for themselves. And now you've given them, somebody's put a voice to them.
Right.
And like, well, this isn't going to happen in here. And that's so like, and there are people who will just do it for the money and run away, right? There's just people who don't care.
Oh,
I got $1 million.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Some of the
create,
accusations may not even be true, or if they are true, but they didn't care about it at the moment. But now it's like, oh, open window. Hey, I can go for it. So let me go ahead and.
There are actual insurance policies that you can get for if someone comes at you like that. So
Right.
so say someone accuses you of rape or some violent crime, and then their goal is just say, hey, look, I'm gonna take you to court for this, or you can just give me $5 million and I won't take you to court.
And you send your
lot of
insurance
people-
company and their
Yeah.
lawyers in there to deal with them, and you walk away.
Yep. There's an actual, that's
sounds
how
like
bad it
bargaining
is.
with
Like that's how
terrorists.
crazy it is. Yeah.
It is though, but like
Yeah.
it's like
It's just a
we see it here, like in Vegas. Like we talk about how like MGM had to pay $800 million for the 1 October shootings, but in reality, MGM didn't pay $800 million. They have an insurance company, and that they pay their insurance deductibles
Right.
for this reason,
Right.
right? Like you.
I'm surprised you didn't tell me this when I got arrested, because it rocked my world that I could go through so much shit for something I didn't do just because somebody wanted to run their mouth.
Welcome to
It's
being
kind of
black.
like being black.
Guys, that's how we ended up here. I was like, Collins, they put me in handcuffs. They booked me. I thought they got the wrong girl. I gotta go to court. I was like, he was like, yeah, this happens all the time. I'm like, what? How could they just say I
Why
did
are
it
you
and I
crying?
didn't?
This is Tuesday.
Right,
Like, what
right.
are you?
Welcome to
He was
being
like-
black in
I was like-
America. No, this,
Oh man.
but it shook you. You were just like,
It
oh my
shook
god,
me,
this
really
really
did.
happens. Yeah.
That I could just be pointed at and told that I did something and had it wreck my life. I lost a job over it. I had to fly back and forth. A lawyer. Many things came from it just because somebody wanted to run their mouth. And I mean, I guess for you guys, you don't even have to run your mouth. You just have to stand there.
We see it all the time. You see them get shot in their back because they're standing there with their hands up, but they're a threat because,
Yeah.
Oh, that's the music.
That's a good topic for another day.
Yeah, we could go all day.
All right. Again, this has been Negro Please. Please make sure you subscribe to our
Like,
YouTube channel.
subscribe,
Likes
follow,
our
give those thumbs.
Instagram, our Facebook page.
Swoop in those likes. Swoop, whoop. I'll be that girl. Basic.
We'll see you next Thursday on Negro Please. Thanks for checking us out.
Bye.